at her. Let's get at her. It is a very super edition of the Mainly Broncos podcast. We are flying like an eagle after that performance against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Denver Broncos shocked the world by getting their statement win over the Philadelphia Eagles. They won 21-17. It was quite a performance. We will dive into that game. Obviously, it was a statement win. It was the biggest win and biggest game post Peyton Manning in the last 10 years. I don't think it's a bit of a stretch to actually say that, but we will dive into the game, what went wrong, what went right, obviously, and I think a fair amount of the right ended up having to do in the fourth quarter. But before we dive into any of that, the crew is here. Brandon is over there in the top right corner. Jordan is down there on the bottom. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for the MHRT Network page over there on YouTube, as well as the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel. I think we sit at 17 subscribers. We are also doing a bunch of short form over there on TikTok, Instagram, as well as YouTube Shorts. We do post some of the clips every now and again on X and Twitter, and that would actually be the Mainly Broncos Twitter handle at Mainly Broncos. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. Brandon, Jordan, are you flying like an eagle?
I refuse to have any kind of eagle and flight experience right now because cry equals cry.
Yeah.
Man, what a insane.
We clipped their wings.
Yeah, that was just insane from all fronts. With how the game started to how it finished, it was, again, like how you said, one of the best wins we've had in nearly a decade.
It was the best, right? Like it was probably there's probably even not even a debate. Like it was the best. It was the best game that the Broncos have had post Peyton Manning, and it's I guess the proper way to phrase it, obviously, as we said, it was the best game, but I guess the proper way to paraphrase this entire game is,
yeah, they had us the first half. I'm not gonna lie, they had us. We weren't defeated, but they had.
That's basically it. They had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. They had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. I will say though, and granted they did have us in the first half. One of the biggest things right off the bat when it comes to the Eagles Bronco game, or I should say specifically when it came to the Broncos competing with these, upper echelon, top tier opponents, has been the ability to compete with them in the first half. And actually, if you look at it, for all intents and purposes, when you look at the Ravens game, when you look at the Buffalo Bills game, and, now when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles game, they were competing with them in the first half. It was just the ability to finish the game on a high note. So where come the fourth quarter, you actually had a chance to win the game and you pull through.
Yeah, that was actually insane. Like in the entire beginning of that game, you kind of felt like, this is kind of how, at least I felt this way. I was like, okay, well, this is how I expected this game to go. Like we were not going to win this game. I'm not going to have to eat these terrible, I don't know why there's no way for me to show it on camera, but I'm not going to have to eat these terrible, just disgusting fake candies that people seem to claim to like. Maddie. But I do have the candy corn. I'm a man of my word. I will eat the candy corn. Let me open that up actually as we're talking about this. But yeah, I mean, literally, it's a tale of two cities, tale of two halves, right? That's kind of the title of this game to me. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Like okay, let me just put it this way. Obviously, Bo Nix had an incredible fourth quarter, but I'm like, if he can find a way to like harness that for all four quarters, he's going to be unstoppable. Because there was kind of like the epitome of the lean forward in your chair meme. For the first 3 quarters, he was just like, relax, just chilling, I don't care. And then he's like, oh, it's time to actually try. But all props to him. That was an incredible fourth quarter comeback. The Eagles just had absolutely zero answer really for Nick Bonito as well. Just constantly able to generate pressure. Jonathan Cooper had a great game as well, even though he wasn't as much on the kind of highlight stat sheet with the sacks, which Nick Bonito now has the most in the league, which is crazy. But just an all-around amazing game. And it's kind of funny because you look at the Eagles side of it, and this was the first time. I mean, Saquon Barkley had, I think, 2 carries in the second half. Might have been less than that, actually. And this was the first game all year where they actually decide to like throw the ball more. And you kind of wonder if it's like as an answer to all the people saying that they don't throw the ball. And they're like such a run heavy team. And you kind of saw that flipped on its head a little bit in this game, and they became more of a pass happy offense, and they lost. So if anything, I think you're going to see them go back to running the ball more. I know Saquon got hurt, but I thought that was later in the game. I thought that was like fourth quarter. Because like even the beginning of the game, they weren't giving him the ball that much. I mean, they were throwing it to him, but I feel like they tried to
not even running Jalen Hurts all that much.
Just kind of change. Yeah, they didn't run Jalen Hurts either. They were trying to, I feel like, change up their offensive strategy a little bit and go more with the pass. And yeah, I know Saquon got hurt, but I was pretty sure that was in the fourth quarter. I might be wrong there, but it just felt like in general he didn't have that much. He didn't like have a ton of carries compared to what you would normally expect from the Eagles. So I would assume you're going to see them go back to that if he's able to, handle that workload, or they're going to run Jalen Hurts more. They're going to, but even like they're running, like they didn't run their backup. Like they didn't run. So that was interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, just an all around crazy game. I was ready to turn it off, and I was like, this game's over. And they heard me.
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting game. And then, as we said, it was the case where the Broncos did what they've typically done, which is they've kept it close for the first half. But it was really been the tale of the second half. When it came to doing
this is horrible.
When it came to doing the game and actually competing with the Eagles and getting it close, but Jordan, take us through for you. Like, I mean, it was. Yeah, it was definitely a case where they had us in the first half in terms of the lead, but not in that second half, not in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I was in a whirlwind of emotions a bit. I'm not gonna lie, just because the first half was more of like they were inconsistent with their drives. Like they would have 1-2 good plays and then an awful penalty, and then they'll reset them back. And that was just the whole first half. Like it looked like they're gonna do things good, and then something ultimately awful happens. And it was just like, all right, it's just going to be one of those games where if we're not perfect, and we haven't been whatsoever, we're not going to win this game, even though the Eagles haven't been playing good whatsoever. So I kind of already like submitted to the fact that, this is not the Broncos game. It is what it is. Just show the fight. And the second half comes, third quarter, they're starting to pick it up a bit. They're starting to wear on that defensive line of the Eagles. And then we really saw in the fourth quarter how drastic of a shift it all just happened within an instant. And I'll tell you what, the game plan they had for Jalen Carter was excellent. Like even from the first quarter, I know they didn't do much in the first half, but there was a clear focus on Jalen Carter throughout the whole game. And I thought they executed it pretty good. They wore him out. Like he was tired at the end of it. The Eagles' defensive line has been notoriously known, even last year and years prior, not being in great shape and great condition. And you can tell in that fourth quarter, it was the offense really put it to them. And man, Bo Nix, when we needed him most, and when we needed Cortland Sutton the most, they showed up and showed out.
Yeah, that was let's talk about the that the first half in general. I think that it's been a definite issue to begin the season, right? But the one part where I'm a bit kind of like I'm stepping back a little bit when it comes to this game. Like when it comes to this game is the idea that it's Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is one of the all-time great defensive minds. And so them shutting an offense down for relatively the first half, that's not a surprise by any means. It's just a matter of how quickly the light went on when it came to be the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, where that switch was flipped, and it's like you saw a completely different quarterback that you never see against a Vic Fangio type defense. And it's like a true microcosm of the Bo Nix era, the Sean Payton era, where that switch was flipped and it was like a completely different offense. So are you guys worried at all, about in a sense, I know Brandon touched on it earlier, but Jordan, are you worried at all about the first half problems, if you will, to begin the season?
Not necessarily, just because, again, I think what they were trying to accomplish in the first half, again, it was very that's a good point. Jalen Carter was also hurt. So that also did play a big factor. So I would agree with that, Big Mike. There were flashes in the first half. It's just, again, if this team shoots himself in the foot so many times, I would like to believe that that's going to get fixed, simply just with coaching. I mean, I'm sure Sean Payne has been all over them about pre-snap penalties and all this other undisciplined penalties that is just unacceptable. I'm pretty sure as the season goes on, I mean, we even saw from game one to now, the in and out of the huddle is much more smoother, with all the, personnel changes Sean Payne likes to make. And we really saw in games 1 and 2, it was very, very hectic, and Bo will get up to the line with 2 seconds left, and then we'll have to burn a timeout and delay games and stuff. But I think as the season progresses, we'll see much more of a cleaner first half. Again, that first half against the Eagles, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, we'd be having a different story. But I'm not that worried.
Yeah. It's definitely one where when you even kind of look comparatively to last year, it is to a certain extent better, because it felt like they were struggling for the first half, second half type thing when it came to last year. Because the Colts game specifically, they did not struggle from the first half to the second half, right? To a certain degree. They really didn't. And it was one where obviously they should have won that game. They should have won that game if it wasn't for a certain, thing that happened late in the game. So I think had they won that game, you are talking about a completely different first half, second half type of situation. But man, to just talk about the elephant in the room, and a big elephant in the room, and a positive elephant in the room, that does such a significant thing for not just Bo Nix, but the entire offense moving forward. Because they battled. They absolutely battled. And, we talked, Brandon and Jordan, about the offensive identity that they may have found in the Bengals game, going for 500 yards. We got a chance to finally see this whole offense at work in the fourth quarter of everything that we had been wanting to see. Everything we wanted to see. Bo Nix out of the pocket, in structure, out of structure, Cortland Sutton beating some of the league's best corners in Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean was he was a factor, I think, in the first half, but he was a non-factor when it came to be that second half. Quinyon Mitchell was actually, to keep it a buck, was getting burned by Sutton the entire game.
Yep.
And that is exactly what you want to see from a wide receiver who is or should be a dominant wide receiver one. You got a chance to see that running game. And I think that's the side of this where, yeah, even though things were struggling in the first half, the Broncos were staying with it, right? Like the Broncos were staying with that running game, and they ended up doing that, right? Like Brendan, like they ended up sticking to the running game. And then because of that, so much fed off of that, like the in structure, out of structure. And because of that, we got the Evan Ingram game. We got a chance to see him
sort of.
But in the fourth quarter when you needed it, and he breaks a tackle from Jalen Carter, huge moment, Brandon. Huge moment.
I will respectfully disagree a little bit about the Evan Ingram side of it, just because, yeah, he did some work and like he had the touchdown, and I will give him his props for that. Like that dive, absolutely laid out for that. But I don't know. I still haven't seen him do what you need a tight end to be able to do in this offense, and like be that kind of reliable presence and reliable weapon for Bo. But I did think he had a pretty good game. I'm not an Evan Ingram hater by any means, but I just think I wish we had seen even more of him, and it shouldn't have taken this long to get to this point, to the fifth game of the year for him to do anything. But he wasn't terrible. I just think, I don't know, he's been a little bit disappointed to me. But like, let's just talk about J.K. Dobbins, because he has absolutely been a revelation for this entire offense, and I am just glad that they're able to continue to lean on him as long as he stays healthy. We need to really try to continue to focus on the running game as much as we possibly can moving forward. I think that's going to really help us, especially just to make things as easy as we can on Bo. And that was like a big part of, his rookie season last year, is he didn't really have any kind of a running game to speak of. So I definitely love seeing that. And we stuck to it a little bit more than we had in the past, although I think there were some times where, you would have hoped that he had a little bit more, had a few more carries, J.K. Dobbins, or you used him more. I think I really would like to see them utilize him more in the passing game. And like, I know that's kind of more RJ Harvey's role, but I think J.K. Dobbins could also do pretty well there. But overall, definitely happy with how the running game turned out. And to me, I think part of the thing that really stood out to me, specifically in the fourth quarter with Bo, is you saw him, I don't know, sometimes it kind of felt like he was maybe, and I think this is potentially the case with the overthrow issue, which you did see pop up a little bit. And I'm not saying that I know that this for a fact is true, but I feel like he's almost putting a little bit too much air under, because he's worried about making a mistake. He's worried about throwing an interception. He's worried about like putting the ball in a bad place. And I think that specifically you saw that, when he, what's that?
You're talking about the Sherfield.
The Sherfield play. But then in the fourth quarter, when you kind of had nothing to lose, and he was, getting more into a rhythm, which that's the best rhythm I've seen him get into this season, which is, definitely a positive sign. And he is able to play with confidence, and he's able to take those, longer shots down the field and those tight window throws. And you saw what he did with it. Like, he absolutely was nails, and he was, ice in his veins in that fourth quarter. And I think as you see him maybe get more comfortable with and play with more confidence, get more comfortable with that kind of play earlier in the game, I think you're going to see him start connecting on those deep shots that he's kind of been overthrowing. And again, I don't know for sure if this is the issue, but it just felt to me like he was playing maybe a little tentatively, like he didn't want to make a mistake. and then you get to the fourth quarter, and he's like, "Well, we gotta, put up or shut up. We have nothing to lose." And you see him again, proverbially lean forward in the chair a little bit more and kind of focus and play up to what he's able to play to. And I think you're going to see even more growth from Bo. So I really liked what I saw from him. Absolutely like that Jets game. The Jets are bad. The Jets are a bad football team still. Like another year, kind of the same old thing, to be honest, which pulling out for our friend Play Like a Jet because he has to go through it again. But yeah, I think we'll get into it, but that's going to be if there's such a thing as a get right game when you're winning, that's somehow what that game is, because like it's just going to be like a momentum builder, I think, and not to knock on wood, not to count our chickens before they hatch, if you will. But yeah, no, definitely loved what I saw from the entire offense, the running game, and Bo specifically, obviously.
Yeah. What's funny? We'll get into the Jets game earlier, but like the Broncos and Jets historically in the last, I don't know, like how many years, it feels like it's going on 17 years. That's like late, but that's an exaggeration. But it's just like every single game that the Broncos have had against the Jets has been a really close game. So if there is such thing as a get right game when it comes to the Jets and everything, this would definitely be it. But also the stretch of games, and we'll talk about that, but the stretch of games would be one where the Broncos offense would, need something as far as get right stretch of games for them to really be humming offensively. And, to carry on what you're saying there, Brandon, like we saw what the possible ceiling of the offense with the Bengals, but like that is like the kind of ceiling that you could see from a quarterback that like if for people that even before the season began, excuse me, people before the season began were even labeling Bo Nix as a dark horse MVP candidate. Like dark horse MVP candidate, right, Jordan? And that if you want to put yourself on the map, and granted, there's going to be quarterbacks, MVP quarterbacks that just have really bad games, right? But the MVPs also switch on a light when it matters the most, and that's exactly what Bo Nix did. I mean, the fact he was able to rise to the occasion and play at such a MVP type level, and then everything was playing off of that so well was chef's kiss.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing that Bo Nix to Evan Ingram connection heat up a bit. I don't know if it caught fire or attention after the game, but there's an interesting quote from Evan Ingram talking about, I guess he had a passionate talk with Peyton on the sidelines during the Eagles game. And it was like along the lines of, Sean Payton didn't like his body language or whatever, and they were just pissed off and whatever. And then it was actually after the fact where Ingram made that tremendous play on first down, and then kind of that was the drive that kind of propelled them to score that touchdown. And then I don't know, it just seemed the comments after the game seemed like Ingram is finally getting a grasp of things within the offense, because I don't know, it was just the way those comments were. I was very intrigued with how that all went down, because even Evan Ingram said that Sean Payton will let you know if he doesn't like something you're doing or whatever. Like he will coach you hard and stuff, and that's what. And Evan Ingram was telling the media that's what he loves or whatever. So like we're starting to see Evan Ingram a little bit now getting more involved. So again, those comments were very intriguing, especially right after the game and stuff. So, and it's, I don't know, maybe I'm connecting the dots a bit, maybe I'm not, but I do think we see that connection heat up a bit. And then J.K. Dobbins has been excellent for the Broncos. If it wasn't for him, man, I don't know where this offense would be, because J.K. Dobbins has been great. And he's been great for R.J. Harvey too. So he's been great on all fronts. And then I think the last thing I'll say about the offense is what the Broncos did in the fourth quarter. Like, they didn't do nothing that required more than skill. I think that is something that they could relatively do game in and game out. It was pretty simple football. And I think the more we see that, the better. And the ceiling of this team goes exponentially through the roof.
Bruce Trevor Hummer is going to end up having to download Grammarly because it's Ingram with an E. But no, I think that if there's one word as far as the identity or just like how they can take this off of this game, and to a certain extent, and maybe it's just because Dan Campbell's the pupil of that, but if there's one word that I think that needs to happen for this offense to really gel, is aggressiveness. And I have to think that, you know, the analytics obviously will always tell you do not go for a 2-point conversion, right? You do not go for a 2-point conversion when it comes to be 8 minutes left in the game. But I have to think, and then, you know, talking about reading a room, I have to think that the Sean Payton stuff on the sidelines, Brandon and Jordan, he thought about that Bengals game probably for a good 5 months in the offseason. And when it came to the Eagles game and 8 minutes left in the game, he decides to run a I dare you to beat us, simple speed out to Troy Franklin. And, you know, frankly, the play was so well designed that even if Bo waits just a tick longer, he had Sutton on a clear out in the middle of the end zone. It looked like on the tape. But he had Franklin, and Franklin, unlike last year, had the biggest moment of his NFL career catching that 2-point conversion. So I think the other part I would just say, Brandon, is like the aggressiveness is something that I would really like to see from this team going forward. So they went forward on that 2-point conversion, but let's see if they get a little bit more aggressive and going forward on 4th down. And, you know, when it kind of gets to be, you know, near midfield and everything, like if it's 4th and 1, 4th and 2, that you see a little bit more aggressiveness when it comes to that.
I'm surprised we haven't seen that so far with just the effort we've seen from the defense and the amount of pressure we put on opposing quarterbacks. I mean, yeah, like going forward's a risk and you can give the ball back to the, you know, opposing offense with great field position, but like this defense continues to do what it's been doing. And like, that's already a tough ask. And like you saw what happened with the Eagles defending Super Bowl champions, really in the 4th quarter specifically, but like we scored 17 unanswered points. Like they could not do anything. And I just think, yeah, I agree. I think I want to see them be a little bit more aggressive. I want to see Bo Nix be a little bit more, again, confident and like able to get into a rhythm and not be afraid to, you know, take some shots and take some harder throws because he's able to do them. And I'm excited to see them do that, hopefully against the Jets. And just to kind of go back to what Big Mike was saying, the Jets have a good running game. I don't think I would say that their offense is good. Justin Fields has looked decent, but the running game is kind of the only good thing about the Jets right now. Like their defense is actually so bad, and it's surprisingly bad. Like you would not have thought with some of the guys that they have on that defense that they would be as bad as they are. And I think, again, Bo is going to hopefully be able to get, again, into a little bit of a rhythm, keep some momentum going here. And yeah, hopefully we're able to see that against the Jets. I mean, the Jets' very own Breece Hall came out with probably one. It was kind of a funny quote, but it was also like really sad and also at the same time perfect. It's kind of like an all-in-one kind of thing there. Did you guys see what he said about basically like how bad the Jets have been playing? He said, other teams shoot themselves in the foot and we come back and shoot ourselves in the head.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So definitely excited to see what that's going to look like. And yeah, I agree about them being more aggressive. I think that's going to be something that hopefully you're able to see again against the Jets in London. And I want to see Bo play with some more confidence because he's able to do it. But yeah, I think the more you see what this defense is going to be able to do and it's already been doing, I'm surprised you haven't seen them go for it on fourth down more, just because it's hard to do anything against this defense.
Yeah. And as Chris mentioned, 18 unanswered points. That is a punch in the mouth to the Super Bowl champions. So much so that we're making Eagles fans completely bitter about the idea that, there's some favoritism in favor of the Broncos or, whatever. I got to say, one of my favorite moments, and this is, I don't mean this just from a Broncos side of things, but admittedly, my dad and I do this where, like, if there's a huge game or it's a possible rival or anything like that, my dad and I would be like, oh, you know what? Let's tune into the opposing team's radio or, so on and so forth. It took me just 5 minutes listening to Philadelphia Eagles radio. And all it took was one caller where he was so pissed off about his parlay that it went from, man, the Eagles messed up my parlay to the Philadelphia Eagles are frauds. They won a Super Bowl last year, but they are frauds. Like typical, IGGLES Eagles fashion, But, Jordan, I want to take this to you for a second because you are very critical. Obviously, maybe in due time, the Bryant stuff's going to end up working out. And I know we briefly mentioned about him, but I want you to kind of take us through because, you admitted Sutton had a phenomenal game. Right. But take us through your thoughts on Courtland Sutton's performance. Specifically in that game against the Eagles. And that he might be the only one where, he had that moment first in the game, but he was probably one of the few people that was rather consistent as the game was going on. Just take us through your thoughts as you were watching Sutton truly dominate.
I think he really used his size to his advantage, which he does a lot, but against a corner like Quinyon Mitchell, sometimes that can get mitigated to a certain degree, but man, his releases off the line of scrimmage were pretty good. I thought his route running was actually much more improved from what I've seen as of late. I mean, whenever there's a 50-50 ball, a contested catch opportunity, it's almost certain that Sutton's going to make a play on the ball and more likely come down with it, which we saw in that back shoulder fade. That was pretty good. But what surprised me the most was the 3rd and 15 dart from Bo to Court. It was not just Court being right on the sticks. It was what he did after. He broke a couple tackles and has some impressive yak. Again, not the quickest, not the fastest, but he has a little deceiving part to his game that is starting to show for me at least.
Come back, if you will, because he had it in 2019.
Yeah, and listen, I've never had a problem with Courtland Sutton, the receiver. I've always just had a problem with his role on the team. But man, if he can now, again, these are back-to-back games where these are consistent, great performances as a true wide receiver one. If he can continue this trend, then this offense can take another step in the right direction because I think Troy Franklin is going to be just fine. I even thought Troy Franklin had a good game against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Marvin Mims didn't have enough opportunities to really grade him out as a receiver, which is fine. I think he did his job. He did most of the stuff on clear out routes, which again doesn't show up in the box score, but he did what he was asked to do. But in terms of Courtland Sutton, he really impressed me on Sunday. I was really, really happy to see how he dominated his matchup against Quinyon Mitchell for sure.
He definitely made it obvious that he has 4 inches and 25 pounds on Quinyon Mitchell,
which is what you want to see from a guy like Courtland Sutton, 100%.
If he had caught that pass 2 minutes into the game in the first quarter on 3rd down, oh boy,
it didn't start off great for him, but it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
That was kind of his only miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does the game look if he does catch the ball? Like he could be having a different.
Might not even be a comeback,
half.
to be honest with you.
It. Well, I was gonna say the hindsight's always 2020 because like I think back to the game against Buffalo in the playoffs where they finally connected on the bomb to Franklin, and then it really didn't matter after that, you know. So I don't know. It might have been a case where it might not have mattered, but you know, as we're talking about the oh, by the way, in regards to Courtland Sutton, something of note when it comes to him and his all-time stats, if this trend is keeping up, he will finish in the top 5 of all-time receiving yards for a Denver Bronco after this season. And then I think he needs 300 more, 400 more or something, maybe. But that's something that he can accomplish next season. If he does that, he will be firmly into the top 4, passing Lionel Taylor for 4th all-time in Broncos history when it comes to receiving yards. Thus, basically meaning that he will be the 3rd wide receiver in Broncos history leading in receiving yards, because Shannon Sharp obviously is above him, and that's going to be really hard to beat. But no, it's just it is something, and it may be, and I don't mean to trigger Jordan on this one, but like it might be one where Sutton might be so misunderstood in Broncos country to where it's not the level of Demaryius Thomas, because Demaryius Thomas was definitely misunderstood. But he's also my favorite wide receiver in Broncos history, as evidenced obviously with the Mario hoodie. But like, he might go down as, you know, one of the more underappreciated players in Broncos history, meaning Courtland Sutton.
For sure.
For everything that he gave the franchise, everything he went through.
Yeah, that's the big part.
You know, yeah, he's earned every bit of it. So, yeah, it's phenomenal to see what he's kind of accomplished. You know, as a member of the Broncos.
Courtland Sutton is the AFC version of Terry McLaurin, not in the way he plays, in the way that he was on a team for most of his career with an absolutely atrocious quarterback situation.
Oh yeah.
And finally gets
that's true.
something.
That's true. Yeah.
We'll talk about this at some point after when we do the preview of the Jets. But apparently, the Browns might be selling. Apparently, they just did another trade with the Jaguars, sending Greg Newsome to the Jaguars.
What?
Just now.
They traded Greg Newsome to the Jaguars?
And then they traded Tyson Campbell, who signed a 4-year, $76 million deal.
Didn't he just sign last year?
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird trade.
Yeah, to the
corner for corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to talk about that in terms of maybe the Broncos being a buyer market, because the Broncos rarely have been a buyer market. Frankly, I think the last time the Broncos were a true buyer, it didn't work out in Vernon Davis's favor, but it was the Vernon Davis move where they traded for Vernon Davis. They ended up winning obviously the Super Bowl, but he was kind of a non-factor. Yeah, so we'll have to talk about maybe the Broncos being a buyer, but
bring me Tyler Linderbaum or Cody McCoy.
David Njoku, baby, give it to me.
That's.
I'd rather have either of those centers, but I wouldn't be mad at David Njoku.
Yep. So obviously, before we dive into the defense, we do have to talk about something that is possibly something that's going to linger for a couple months, and that is the offensive line. The offensive line did go through a little bit of some injuries. It did go through a bit of some injuries injury, I should say, with Ben Powers, going down. They will lose him. It sounds like to IR. They haven't officially put him on IR, but it sounds like they will put him on IR. And according to the YouTube comments and everything that you're seeing there on Twitter and X, it does sound like Matt Peart will be getting the start at left guard. I don't hate it. because at the end of the day, I trust Zach Strief with my life. And the other factor is obviously Bonex is so good getting the ball out faster and quicker and avoiding pressure and sacks to where it's not going to be as much of a thing. You just hope that, Bo's antsy feet sometimes that you see in the pocket aren't going to end up being too antsy, given the fact that Ben Powers is not there. So
yeah, I mean, it definitely sucks because Ben Powers has been kind of a little bit of a unsung hero, I think, a little bit on this offensive line. He's been just like a solid guard. And it's gonna probably be a little bit of a transition to see him it go to Pert. So hopefully he's able to slot in well. But I feel like Quinn Miners has gotten kind of all the attention of like for how good he is, and rightfully so. But I think Ben Powers has been also pretty good. So losing him sucked.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, going up Pert is I don't mind it. Podcheski still reporting as eligible, and then now you have one of those behemoths on the line is going to be pretty cool. But it does suck for Ben Powers because I want to believe that I think I saw the stat that Denver has had like the healthiest offensive line in the past 2 years. Like
specifically him, he hasn't missed a game.
Yeah, so sucks that happened now, but at the end of the day, we were grateful to have a healthy offensive line for a long time. But now it's next man up, and listen, Matt Pert might actually do a pretty good job when he's in there. So
the last time the Broncos, interestingly enough, it was right around this point in time this season when it happened, but the Broncos had an injury on their offensive line. He was gone for not 2 months, but he was gone for a couple of games. That's when Mike McGlinchey went down, and that's when you saw Alex Pavlovchevsky, come in and play right tackle. And for the pinch that he gave, pause. But for the pinch that he gave, when it came to that Broncos offensive line, he played well. I mean, so much so that Brandon and I literally had like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where it was like, oh, if this trend continues, they might actually move on from Mike McGlinchey.
I remember that too.
Yeah, and and ended up not becoming a thing. But no, I think it's gonna be interesting because there's an angle of this where it's like you're so frustrated because should Matt Parrott be your starting left guard, Brandon? No. But I think it also kind of takes it to a certain area where it's like Nick Gargulio, the injury of Nick Gargulio. This is where it really kind of rears its ugly head again, because it's like he was first in line, right? Like he was first in line to be that replacement for Ben Powers, it seemed like this year. And so to see that unfold, unfortunately, is a bit unfortunate. And for the Broncos, this is their most devastating injury, should we say? Probably in the Sean Payton era as of right now.
Yeah, I don't
considering the fact that we haven't had that many injuries, which is I would consider a win. I think that's probably true.
Yeah, I don't recall any major significant injuries within the last few years, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, just because in the relative sense, like Gargulio should be starting, right? If he didn't have his ACL injury or the injury that he had in preseason, and then you had Ben Powers go down, so it's just one where truly it feels like the depth is unbelievably tested, right? I think it's easy to say like Greenlaw, right? Like I think it's easy to say Greenlaw, but like,
he really hasn't played though yet. He hasn't played like a snap yet.
Right. But no, it makes you wonder. But moving on to the other optimistic and should we say dominant fashion, let's get defensive. Let's talk about this defense. To be fair, Big Mike, Greg Dulcich was always hurt. His name was regularly signed up on the injured list, to quote Little Giants.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was a major injury or most devastating injury because he was never healthy enough to contribute on offense in general. So it's not like he was. It's not like he was good and then could never make the field. We never saw him.
Big Mike always coming in clutch. I like that.
Yeah, well, he's always got something to say when it comes to the Croatian sensation.
Okay, go ahead.
Jordan, did you know that's his nickname? Did you know that?
I did not.
That's we found that out. Was it 2 years ago, Brandon? Like that Dulcich was the Croatian sensation. So yeah.
Can we talk about how much unnecessary hate Riley Moss has been getting in the past 24 hours? Because that's ridiculous, man.
We're turning into basically, we were mainly Igbuka.
72 hours, I guess.
We were mainly Igbuka in the offseason, and the last 2-3 weeks, we were like mainly Riley Moss. Like, it is absurd the crap that he's getting. I mean, go ahead, get the floor, Brandon.
Okay, Riley Moss is probably one of the best top 8 cornerback 2s in the NFL, but he also happens to have by far the hardest job of probably any corner in football, because he has to play across the field from Pat Surtain, who just won Defensive Player of the Year. Riley Moss is unfortunately going to see so many targets that he's very good, but he's not Pat Surtain. He's going to see so many targets that you're eventually going to see him give something up, because again, he's not on the level of Pat Surtain, but he's good enough that you're still not going to see it that often. Like, he's still a very good corner. He's still one of the best corners, honestly, in the league, and definitely in the cornerback 2 spot. I think I saw something that he get the passer rating that he gives up when targeted would be like bottom 5 in the NFL. In terms of the quarterback passer rating would be bottom 5 in the NFL. It's like 50 something. Like, he is for all intents and purposes, he is a lockdown corner. Are you going to see some plays that he's given up? Sure. But the guy is going to be targeted just at a hyper extreme level. Like, he's going to see so many balls thrown his way that he has an incredibly difficult job, and he's still doing a very, very, very good job of holding up in that role. So everyone that wants to be like, oh, Riley Moss is terrible because he gets burned and because he's has a horrible separation grade or whatever. I don't even know all the stuff that I saw, but factor in that he's probably the most targeted cornerback in the NFL, because no one is ever going to throw to the other side of the field.
I don't mean to cut you off on this.
I'm good now. That was the rant.
So, no, I because it looked like Jordan was going to say something. I did some digging. When it comes to coverage, and granted, it kind of includes the postseason on this, but did you know that Riley Moss is tied for first in the entire NFL for forced incompletions?
I believe it.
He's tied he's tied with Will Johnson, Quinyon Mitchell, Tarheeb Still is number 2. They put him at 5 because of the ties. But and Will Johnson, the rookie from the University of Michigan. He's number 1, tied for number 1 when it comes to forced incompletions so far this year.
Yeah, the Riley Moss hate, again, he's going to give up completions. It's just the name of the game. Even Pat Surtain gives up completions, and I know that's a rarity, but with the amount of times Riley Moss gets targeted, it's going to happen. But as we can see, he's gone up against Devontae Smith, who's not your ordinary wide receiver 2. He's gone up against T. Higgins, who's not your ordinary wide receiver 2. He's gone up against really good wide receivers as well. So they're those matchups are gonna go. They're gonna be balanced more often than not. But just the amount of people that want to see Jade Barron in that role than Riley Moss. Like, I understand we drafted Jade Barron in the first round, 20th overall pick, high expectations and all that. And listen, I bet Barron can handle that role well, but to face that many targets with only a handful of games under your belt, I don't know if I want to put the rookie in that situation. I think Riley Moss has been just fine. Nearly every catch he's allowed has been contested, and the other receiver just makes a hell of a play. I mean, again, he has the hardest job in football, so it's tough. I don't have a problem with Riley Moss whatsoever. I think all the numbers even say that he's pretty well in his role that he has. So the least of my concerns on the defense is Riley Moss.
I mean, I don't know how often
Riley
No, it's just, I don't know how often we need to say it when it comes to the perfect throw. Like, we've said it for the last 3 weeks, where you cannot defend the perfect throw. And I don't have any data to back this up, but it literally feels right. I tweeted this to Seegers because Zach Seegers had some really good stats today when it came to Riley Moss, but it was just like, I don't have any data on it, but it feels like half the throws or majority of the throws that is targeted his way, to what Jordan was saying, are perfect throws. And I don't know about you guys, but when you watch back shoulder throws, that is literally the hardest pass to ever defend if you're a defensive back. It is also one of the hardest throws to throw, just because of, it's based on timing. But it's just like that is a difficult pass to defend if you're a corner, because it's like in basketball, right? Like, you are relying on watching the defender turn around and timing it to get your hands up and everything. And to a certain extent, that's exactly what happened on the Keenan Allen touchdown, with the Chargers, or the one that apparently was going to piss off a lot of Riley Moss haters. And that was the 3rd and 4 that ended up being called back because of an illegal shift, which ended up going to Devontae Smith, which was a dime by Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith. And oh, by the way, Devontae Smith is a former Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Alabama, better than Jerry Jeudy. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like, what exactly more do you want from the guy, except for what you want? 100% deflection rate when it comes to Riley?
He has been targeted on 3rd and 4th down 13 times in 5 weeks. He's only given up 4 completions.
That is a very, very, very good stat that I was very unaware of.
Where'd you find that, Brandon? Like, according.
I saw it was like a analytics Twitter page. I don't remember which one.
Wow. Yeah, he's incredible. But if there is anybody that is public enemy number 1 when it comes to this defense, it is Alex Singleton. Because yes, watching Alex Singleton does make us yak. And obviously Landon was referring to Courtland Sutton when it came to yak. Well, Alex Singleton makes us yak.
Yeah, you guys want to see a defender that actually deserves hate from his fan base right now. Did you guys see Chris Jones on the Jaguars on game when Trevor Lawrence had the weird, insane
look like a baby deer
and then dove into the end zone?
People think
touchdown?
That's Riley Moss on every play.
Yeah.
What happened to the Chiefs, man? He just stood there and looked at him. He didn't even move. He wasn't even like in a stance. He just stood straight up and just like, oh, cool. That was actually insane. That was crazy.
Chris Teddy Bridgewater Jones. No, yeah, that was something. But no, as far as Alex Singleton, it's like clockwork, right?
Yeah.
It's like clockwork at this point. And to be honest, it isn't just him. Like, Justin Sternhut is struggling. And I think that it's just an unfortunate thing because Sternad he's just backfilling a spot for someone. right? And I just think that like it's one where he's proven that he's like the backup and he's filling a spot, right? And I don't know, like it's just one where we're gonna have to have some very hard conversations with the Alex Singleton fan base. That is not good, because the moment Greenlaw comes back, and he will be back, the earliest that he can be back, I believe, is the Giants game. The green dot conversation needs to change. The green dot conversation needs to change. Greenlaw needs to be getting that green dot, the Greenlaw dot, as I would say. And the moment that happens, sorry, Singleton, you gotta go, man. Like you gotta go.
Also, the fact that Malcolm Roach is coming back is incredible. But how can I give Dre Greenlaw my quad? Because we need him so bad.
When he does come back, I'm assuming Singleton's gonna play right next to him. Like the fallout guy is gonna be Justin Strenard. I don't think it'll be Singleton.
Probably, but Singleton not being our linebacker one is
the big
gonna be nice.
Yeah.
Like we've had a linebacker problem for as long as I can possibly remember, and we absolutely need to address that at some point this offseason.
It's turning into the new right tackle.
It's kind of been the right tackle.
Or I should say the quarterback position too. But yeah, Malcolm Roach, for anybody that does not know, was designated to come off of IR today. And kind of reading between the lines, it sounds like Roach might travel to London, which in reading between the lines there sounds like he's going to play against the New York Jets. And, you know, when you do look at it from the standpoint of them beating the Eagles and being, frankly, 3-2 at this point, the fact they are 3-2 defensively and as good as they still have been, doing that without Malcolm Roach and Dre Greenlaw has been incredible. And, you know, as we said, we'll get at Greenlaw here in just a little bit, but Roach is going to make such a difference, you know, for this defensive line. I will say, you know, Jordan, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the inactive list, because what is it? Jordan Jackson has been active for a fair amount of the, has been active for nearly every single game except for one. Because Savion Jones was active. So I am curious to see how all that's going to unfold once Malcolm Roach is back.
Yeah, it will be very nice to see Malcolm Roach on the field relatively soon. I hope it's against the Jets. I know if he's active against the Jets, I don't think they're going to throw him right into the fire and give him a tons of snaps. I think he'll be on a pitch count, but just his presence in there. I mean, even the players say, like in the media when they were talking about Malcolm Roach, like, his presence is missed in the locker room. Like he's a huge locker room guy and huge vibes guy for that defense. And honestly, I know we talk about like Jonathan Cooper being like the attitude of the defense. Malcolm Roach is also one of those guys as well. Like he has a sense of a heartbeat in that defense as well. So it's going to be nice to have him with the whole Alex Singleton situation. I was one of those Alex Singleton, I don't want to say fans, but one of those people that was like, maybe he's getting too much hate, or I don't want to say hate, too much criticism. But now I think the criticism is getting fairly warranted because, man, that was let's just put it like this. Thank God the Eagles offensive coordinator did not give the ball to Barkley as much as we thought. I know he got hurt in the second half, but again, in the first half, I thought we were going to see a lot more of Saquon Barkley, and we didn't. But man, oh man, Demario Davis can't be a Bronco soon enough.
Or Cody Barton again.
Or Cody Barton, just anybody. If you play linebacker in the National Football League, please start learning Denver.
Yeah, and look, anybody that wants to come in here and say, well, it was Saquon Barkley, he does that to everybody. Yes, he does. The thing with Alex Singleton, though, is just it's not just Barkley; it's everyone, you know. And yeah, so it's just it's going to be very interesting, you know, how things all shake out. But one thing, Brandon and Jordan, that has remained consistent has been this pass rush, or even the secondary. We actually even got a chance to see a huge moment from Barron when it came to a deflection late into the final drive.
Yeah.
But Brandon and Jordan, I think we've got a player who's making a very, very strong case that for the first time since 2003, 2004, we might actually have back-to-back Defensive Player of the Years, but they were different players on the same team.
Dude, I said last year I thought that Nick Bonito deserved to be Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm glad that PS2 got it. But, dude, Nick Bonito looks
even better this year.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, he is already easily earned that contract. Like, easily.
That's the other part is like...
Actually, he looks underpaid.
He does. He's underpaid.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say is how often do you see a player who gets the new deal and performs at this level, right? Because like it's usually one where it kind of takes them a little bit and then they perform. No, we're hitting the ground running,
Bonito.
And then
Nick Bonito's that dog, man. He's got that dog in him. Crazy fact. Did you guys know this? The pick we used to draft Nick Bonito was the pick we got for Von Miller.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like the closest thing to Von Miller that we've had since Von Miller.
Which is funny because like Brendan and I would talk about Baron Browning's, dip and bend and everything. But no, it's his get off is.
It's incredible. It's started to become a thing that every Wednesday we are starting to search for adjectives when it comes to Nick Bonito because there are no words right now to describe the way Nick Bonito's playing.
Yeah.
I wish there were, but there weren't. There isn't.
Yeah. Mad respect, Tony. And Jordan was the only one who picked. He was the only one who picked Broncos over the Eagles, and I always love it when the team proves us wrong and played at such a high level. So congrats, Tony. You believed in it, and just massive kudos, man. They play 18 unanswered. The Nick Bonito thing is so fascinating to me from even the Vance Joseph side of things, because one of the player comps for Bonito coming into the league was a popular one, and it was Hassan Reddick. Does anybody know like kind of what happened with Hassan Reddick in the career with Vance Joseph? Was like, was it like if you look at it, he was kind of wavering like what Baron Browning was with the Broncos, but like he was kind of like, okay, they're going to put him at edge. They're going to put him at, linebacker, inside linebacker. They're going to kind of move him around. And then it really wasn't until like his last year, right? Like it wasn't until his last year or second to last year where they said, you know what, let's put him at edge. We're seeing some things a little bit at edge. And he really blossomed. He really blossomed into one of the more underrated edge rushers in the entire NFL. I think that when you look at it when you look at it from Vance Joseph's side, I wonder if the Reddick thing was in the back of his mind, or even the Zaven Collins stuff, right? Like, or even the Zaven Collins thing too. But it's just like he probably realized this dude is a monster off the edge, and he's an athlete. He's got that quick get off. Let's put him in the absolute best possible place to succeed, and he has gotten better since day one.
Nick Bonito has as many or more sacks than 8 NFL teams.
He's even probably, I assume, pressures too.
For sure, pressure.
And like the fact, and like, let me also say that I know like Jonathan Cooper is almost the Riley Moss of the edge room because he has to play opposite Nick Bonito. Not that everyone is hating on Jonathan Cooper, but I feel like he's kind of living in his shadow a little bit because Jonathan Cooper has also been incredibly good. Yeah. Like he looks just a shade slower than Nick Bonito himself. Like that's how good Jonathan Cooper has looked. And he has 2.5 sacks himself. But he has been an absolute force on the other side, across from Nick Bonito. And it's like, he's literally giving Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware vibes. because Jonathan Cooper is also so good.
What do we call him? The Tim Patrick of the room? Like, just because he's Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
Like, Cooper is playing like one of the comps that I had for Cooper, and it was a Peyton draft pick, but one of the comps that I had for Cooper was Everson Griffin. Like, because like he was a relentless player, but he was a consistent player, a rather consistent player. Like you and I, Brandon, like you and I even talk about how good. Oh gosh, Ryan Kerrigan. The name was escaping me for a second, but
Ryan Kerrigan on the Commanders,
like
or before they were the Commanders.
Yeah, before they were the Commanders, the Redskins. Yeah, no, it's just like, but like just how consistent he is, like just how consistent he is in terms of the run game and just even in the pass situation. I just think that that's the side of this with Benito we have yet to even see yet, and that is for being a pass rusher. Right? We said so often when Fangio was here, or even when Vance Joseph was here, is like, why are they dropping Von Miller in the coverage? Why are they dropping Bradley Chubb in the coverage? Right? Like, for Nick Benito, he is such a really smart, instinctual edge rusher in pass coverage that we haven't even seen that side of him yet. So, like, if you look at it from the standpoint for Benito, it's like if he does add the stuff from last year, which is 2 defensive scores, this may sound incredibly biased on it, but it's like if that happens with the sacks that are piling on, it is going to be darn near impossible to not give him Defensive Player of the Year at that point.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I feel like it's going to be difficult for the NFL to stomach giving Defensive Player of the Year to the same team 2 years in a row, but
it's happened.
They should.
It is, yeah, and it's definitely happened.
By the way, regarding Jonathan Cooper, among qualified pass rushers, he has the fastest get off in the NFL. So he's faster than Benito.
Right.
Which is insane.
That's crazy.
I
mean, he looks slower than Nick Benito because Nick Benito just looks otherworldly, but that's how good Nick Benito is, and that's how good Jonathan Cooper is. Jonathan Cooper is so underrated.
There's a clip going around from Frankie's Films, or at Frankie's Film, who does stuff for Let's Talk Broncos, and it's the part where they literally beat Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, who I don't know if you guys been living under a rock, but like those are 2 of the best tackle duos in the entire
first team All Pros.
Like,
yeah, I think those are the best duos of tackles.
And so the fact that you have 2 edge rushers with that getting to the quarterback, yeah, you are solidifying yourself as, if not number 1, 2 or 3 when it comes to the best duo of pass rushers in the NFL. And then obviously, yes, for anybody that doesn't know, we are definitely a Jonah Ellis fan club. Even though I did probably stir the pot a little bit about tweeting about Jonah Ellis for AJ Brown during the week of, but I do love Jonah Ellis. And I mean, frankly, the breakout candidates are proving smart between Troy Franklin and Jonah Ellis so far to begin the year.
Did you guys see Nick Benito do the Fly Eagles Fly celebration?
Yeah.
After sacking Jalen Hurts, that was Nick Benito is a monster, man.
He's got a little bit more swagger to him this year or confidence too, because like right, like he did the famous one for Jordan, when he sacked Cam Ward, and he did the 6-7 celebration. Was it last week? And then he did the Fly Eagles Fly.
We were down 14, by the way, when he did that.
We were down 14 when he did that. Yep. And I think he did it again, and at some point, like it may have been after the game. Another player that we need to give, and look, if Mike Carmelini is watching the show, we apologize, but there's another player we do need to be giving some props to. And to kind of toot my own horn, I predicted that he would be a Bronco in the offseason. Yes, Brandon. But Talanoa Hufanga. Like, Hufanga has been as advertised and more. Like he has been incredible. Obviously, he should have came down with that play, but that was such an athletic play for him. Like, if there was anything that made you think like he's a Troy Polamalu type player, that was the play right there. Like blitzing, almost actually coming up with the play like that. Like that, he is flying around everywhere. Between being a box safety and if you go look at some of the stats, they are playing him everywhere. Like we said maybe Jade Barron might actually end up being the joker of the defense. I think the argument, right, guys, is that it's Hufanga who's the joker of this defense.
Yeah, dude, Hufanga is absolute, just also a madman. Like, Cam said it. He's been as advertised. I've loved Hufanga. I feel like every time I ever watched the 49ers, which was not that much, to be honest with you, but in the past few years, every time I watch them, I'm like, damn, Hufanga looks so good.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for J.K. Dobbins lighting up the offense, the best free agent acquisition for the Broncos is Tyler Hufanga. He's been that good. But again, his presence on the field, the defense always has to know where he's at. You don't know if he's going to blitz, if he's going to do – he can do so many other things in this defense under Vance Joseph. He's so versatile in that aspect. And him in the box – helping on the run game has been also special as well. He's been nothing short of amazing, and I can only imagine how much better he's going to be when he has his buddy Dre Greenlaw back, because now maybe Hufanga doesn't have to do too much of what he's being asked right now. I mean, again, I don't know about that, but again, as his defense gets stronger, it's going to get scary.
I don't know. Telling someone, the moment, Greenlaw comes back, telling him, hey, buddy, you don't need to be as aggressive. I don't think that's going to go over well when it comes to, Hufanga. But no, he's been something. And to call it for what it is, he's helped out the deficiencies of the linebacker room. So I think you are right, though. Like, Greenlaw comes back, maybe he doesn't have to do it as much. You'll still see him flying around, but I don't think he maybe has to do it as much. When it comes to
that's what I'm alluding to.
Yeah. But for Joe, we touched on it earlier. He was designated to return, which is that 21-day window, and it sounds like in the comments specifically today that he'll travel to London, which would suggest that he's going to play. Right, like which suggests that he's going to play. The other side of this too, with the defensive line and specifically injuries, was I did not see him on the injury report. And obviously I'm getting older with age, but at times I might be blind in blind moments, but I did not see John Franklin Myers on the injury report. And he did have a non-contact scare in the game, but certainly good to see him back as well. So that obviously going to end up having that defensive line. But
yeah, you're correct. John Franklin Myers was not on the injury report. Malcolm Roach was limited at practice today in London. So he is in London and he was limited.
Yeah. So as far as looking to this Jets game, obviously Brandon and I have done a ton of shows with the Play Like a Jet guy, and we'll see if we can do one after. Should we say next week, to recap the Play Like a Jet. But Brandon, we said every single game that the Broncos have played the Jets up to this point has been close games. And we said it middle part of the show, top of the show, how this needs to probably be a get-right game. On the surface, right, and I even said this to Scott when we were recording the Jets pod yesterday, but like when you look at it, if there is any game up to this point between the Broncos and Jets, Brandon, where it needs to be a blowout, it's this one. Because everything is lining up on paper where the Broncos are significantly better than the Jets. The question is just, is history going to repeat itself? It's going to be close again.
The one thing that scares me again with the Jets is and also the one thing that I think they're actually doing well, which is their running game.
Even defensive line.
What's that?
Oh, just defensive line too. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, if the defensive line on paper looks good, but their defense just has not been good overall, which is kind of weird. But I think again, the one thing that scares me a little bit more would be Breece Hall. Here's hoping Malcolm Roach plays, because that would be huge.
I'm not gonna lie, this Jets game kind of scares me, and the reason I say that is I understand the Jets are winless.
Yep.
I understand that they have this notion around them that they're the Jets or whatever. And I'm going to contradict myself here a bit. I've never thought Aaron Glenn was a good defensive coordinator, even when he was at the Lions. But he is a great culture setter, and I think that's what he's doing in year one with the Jets, obviously. They have played teams tough this year. They have. The defense hasn't been good. They do have talented players on that side, but they just simply haven't been good. And their offense can run the ball. They're inconsistent passing wise. I mean, I think that's obvious to tell with Justin Fields at quarterback. But again, with a offense that can run the ball pretty well with a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields, and a defense that has been playing bad, but again, talented players on that side. I mean, I don't know. It's you can see the culture and the toughness being set in for the Jets. Again, they have not won a game, but they've been playing teams tough. It hasn't been easy for them. So,
to your point, with Aaron Glenn, I really like him as a coach. I think it's just because he's a culture coach, as you said. If you actually look at his stats when he had been with the Lions, granted, a lot of that ended up being the draft picks along the way, but the defense got substantially better year after year after year when it came to the Detroit Lions. And if they can stick with Aaron Glenn, then I think you'll start to see that Jets defense continue to get better and better and better and better. But where I thought you were going to go with this, Jordan, is it's just and Tony's comment, I don't think he meant it this way, but it's the idea of a trap game. And my immediate reaction, sadly, was the moment that game happened with the Eagles. As fantastic of a victory as it was, oh man, we have a 7:30 game Mountain Time, 9:30 in the terrible time zone of the East Coast where Jordan is. But it's 7:30 Mountain Time. It's an early game in London in neutral territory, and a team that is 0-5, that is literally searching for their first win. And is it bad that I'm thinking this way? Maybe to a certain extent, because there is no way, right? There is absolutely no way I can see a Sean Payton-led team thinking, oh, this is a trap game. It's just when the mind goes like that, I think we even talked at some point during the season where this had a chance to be a trap game, right? As far as a London game.
Yeah.
But we weren't sure. We weren't sure if it was going to end up being a trap game. And sure enough, it ended up being kind of a trap game to a degree. I
mean, just with the travel to London against a team like this, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of irk me a bit. As long as the Broncos come out with a win, I don't care how they get it done. I don't care if it's as ugly as it comes. Again, overseas trip across the pond, you just get the win. However you can get it. I don't care about winning pretty and all that. I'll say my score prediction soon, but just get it done. I don't care. Come out of this 4-2, coming back home.
Brandon?
I'm going to say it's a win. I think a lot of the times, you hear people talk about oh, it's a trap game. And I guess I could see by the definition, depending on how you view trap games, yes, this could be a trap game. But I think just based on, again, everything that we've seen so far from both of these teams, I don't think the Jets are a good team. I think the Jets have a good running game, and I think the Jets Justin Fields has looked okay. He's looked decent, but like against this pass rush, against this secondary, and just with the way the bow has looked in the past 2 games, specifically again with the Eagles in the fourth quarter, but the Jets are not the Eagles, and I definitely think this is probably going to be a win. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be at the game. I will be in Europe. I will be in London in 2 weeks, so just slightly missed it there. That would have been so cool. I would have loved to do that, be able to go and see the game in person, but I do think it's going to be a win. And I think it's going to be probably a pretty good win. I don't know if it's going to necessarily be a blowout, but I'm thinking like probably by at least 2 touchdowns. Which I mean, you could consider. I mean, you could call that a blowout, but I think it's going to be a 2-score game for sure.
The other part is, what you had the Minnesota Vikings struggle with the Cleveland Browns last week in London, and that's something you never want to see, right? So it's just, I think for me, I obviously do have this as a win. I think it's going to end up starting. It's going to be a hard fought win in the sense, like game wise, it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to end up being one where the Broncos push, and it ends up being a 10+ advantage when the clock hits 0. And I think it'll be 27-17 Broncos at the very end. And the Broncos do come out on top. And all 3 touchdowns will be from Bo Nix. And they will be passing touchdowns as things kind of continue to separate themselves with the touchdown and interception ratio when it comes to our glorious quarterback, Bo Nix.
Man, my gut is telling me a very, very. I mean, again, I laid it all out. This is this game's gonna be tougher than what most people expect. The time change, all that across the pond. So many factors that go into it. I see this as being a 1-possession game, if I'm being quite honest. I saw a stat that the Broncos have scored 20+ points in all their games, which is, I think, they're alongside a few other teams in that regard. My gut, I was originally going to go 17-14 Broncos, but just because I know they've scored more than 20, I'll go 20-13 Broncos. It's going to be a gritty game. Just come out with the dub, and I'll be happy.
And the Broncos have shown us, right? Like the Broncos have shown us that they are well prepared in terms of beating teams that they should. And this is no exception. So go out there and prove it. For London, and hopefully that could become a thing. Briefly, as we end the show, we touched on it briefly with some names, but the idea, Brandon, about the Broncos possibly being buyers, because the Browns and Bengals made a bit of a weird trade this week, actually yesterday, with an in-division trade, helping out division opponents, if you will, with the biggest position in all the sports in Joe Flacco to the Bengals. So is it possible that maybe the Browns might be sellers, as evidenced by not just Flacco, but trading Greg Newsome?
I mean, man, the Browns are in such a weird situation. That trade specifically was odd to me because you see a cornerback swap, and Tyson Campbell did actually just get paid by the Jags in July, I think. And I mean, he's a decent cornerback. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I do think you probably will see more trades happen just in general in the NFL. Is it from the Browns? Maybe, but I do think there's going to be more sellers, specifically from teams that like you would not have expected to be sellers going into the season. Like, I don't know, the Ravens, I don't know if they're going to be sellers, but like I could see them maybe moving on from Mark Andrews. The Browns again might continue to try to get rid of some of their players, maybe like try to get some some cap relief since they just had to take on Tyson Campbell's, especially because Greg Newsome was on the final year, I think, of his deal. So that could definitely be a team that I would look at. And then I don't know if they're going to be. I mean, they're not going to necessarily be a team that we're going to be trading with, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders maybe are trying to potentially be sellers at the deadline as well. I think there's going to be maybe more trade deadline deals done than you would normally see in a season. So that'll be interesting. I mean, the kind of big name players that you see that might get traded, I think Alvin Kamara might be traded from the Saints.
Just don't go to the Chiefs.
Depending on what's that?
Just
don't go to the Chiefs, right? I mean, honestly, same thing with Breece Hall. If the Jets continue to lose, I mean, I know he's kind of their one good thing, and that probably doesn't happen, especially since they lost Braylon Allen for, I think, the year. But if they continue to kind of lose and they can get a good haul for him and someone makes him a good offer, maybe. As much as I, again, don't think that there's any possible way that we trade in division, if we could get Jacoby Myers, it'd be kind of cool because I think he's actually a pretty decent wide receiver and he'd be useful. But I mean, I definitely think there's going to be some interesting moves that are made. I just want a center. That's all I want. I want Eric McCoy or I want Tyler Linderbaum.
The funniest thing is, like, I'm with you. It's one where it's like you just rarely see an offensive lineman trade like that. You know.
I know, but
but I'm with
let me have hope.
But
Traylon Burks was released, I think.
Yeah, I think Burks was, and actually, I tweeted it, but Traylon Burks is the type of player you stash on your practice squad, and develop, and kind of develop. I mean, no, he's not. He's not panned out, but he is the type of player you stash on your practice squad. And I know Sean likes reclamation projects, and also not to make David Talks Broncos mad, but if you're listening, David, no harm, no foul on this, but Burks is better than A.T. Perry. So having Burks on the practice squad, I think would mean well, even though they signed Samori Toure. So I will gladly take Burks over Toure any day.
Yeah. But, man, I would love me some Demario Davis.
You said that, yeah. He knows the system. And there's an argument where maybe Greenlaw doesn't need the green dot and you give it to Demario Davis, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know the Saints are going to be they're for sure going to be sellers. I don't know who their center is. I'm assuming it's better than our situation.
McCoy, I think.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's better than our situations. That center, Demario Davis, I'd be looking to a lot of people. I mean, I don't know if they'll do it, but maybe Taysom Hill.
I know it sounded crazy, but I dropped it in the Slack chat. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
I don't think it happens either, but
no. But I was saying, if you're going to be sellers, why not trade? You cut Kroll immediately, and you trade for Juwan Johnson, and you have a Juwan Johnson, Evan Ingram type of room.
Yeah.
But look, he signed his deal, and clearly was going to be an Evan Ingram or Juwan Johnson type of situation in the offseason. And now that they're selling, or seems to be selling, you might as well just get them. And obviously finances isn't really a problem when it comes to the Broncos, as we found out. But no, I think that it's going to be the one part for me that's going to be interesting is, as we said, the Broncos really haven't been buyers, right? The one point where they've been buyers was the year they won the Super Bowl, right? When Vernon Davis was traded to the Broncos, and he didn't do anything, right? He really didn't amount to anything. He won a Super Bowl, but it really didn't amount to anything because he was all Virgil Green. It was all Virgil Green who was kind of performing and not Vernon. So when I kind of look at positions of need, undoubtedly center would probably be number one, but tight end, linebacker, like those are probably 1 and 2. The one that I do think gets interesting is, and granted, it's just because we were banging the drum this off season, but if the wide receiver room continues to kind of go on its ebbs and flows, trading for a wide receiver. I mean, obviously that is far more of a want versus a need.
Yeah.
But going out and, getting a wide receiver who's expiring on a deal, and clearly on the trade block to get him, you have a pretty decent room at that point. I don't know who that'll be, but you would have a pretty decent room of Cortland, the guy you acquire, obviously Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, so, and those are the kind of moves, right, that do separate yourself when you kind of sometimes you got to make those want versus needs type moves, and it helps you win a Super Bowl.
Judy, come back home.
Just had to slide that in there. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting mid-season, if you will, with the trade deadline, and it's going to be hopefully a Denver Broncos victory over the New York Jets this Sunday. Actually, rather than talking in absolutes, it will be a Denver Broncos victory against the New York Jets. Obviously, because we do not want this situation again.
Yeah, they had us the first half. I'm not gonna lie. They had us. We weren't defeated, but they had.
Yeah, we don't want the Jets to have us in the first half. And as long as in the last 2 weeks, Bo Nix plays the way that he has, and the offense is playing the way that they do, we should be coming out on top. So for Brandon, myself, and Jordan, make sure you follow the social accounts for all three of us. That is at Brandon Miller PO. That is at Jordan T. Lopez, and myself at Cameron Parker PO. You can also follow the show handle at Mainly Broncos. You can also follow the MHRT network there. You can also subscribe to both the MHRT network YouTube channel. We are pushing for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know that's a hard task to pull off, but we are pushing. But let's try and get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are also hoping to get some more subscribers over there on the Mainly Broncos YouTube page. We are doing short form over there. We're also doing short form on TikTok, Instagram, those places. And actually, the last 2 posts over there on Instagram and TikTok were pretty viral, I should say. I think it ended up with, last I checked, was like 20-some thousand views were the last 2 posts that we had on there. So that was very, very good to see. So make sure you go check us out there over on TikTok, Instagram, as well as the social media handle of at Mainly Broncos, where we also post some of those clips. It has been a great episode. Let's go Broncos, and God bless Bo Nix.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my